Hello, welcome. Welcome to the next webinar of Mentor We, Mentor Women Empowerment. Here we empower women by peer mentoring. And peer mentoring is basically helping each other with our knowledge and with our intuition, with our kindness, with the soft side, hard side. We are MBA graduates or candidates from the Rotterdam School of Management and all our friends. And tonight we have a very special evening because this is the first time that we dare to have a panel online. We have a panel online to answer the most popular question that our community has posted to us. How do I get a job in the Netherlands? So we gather from our own network, from our own RSMers, three ladies with absolutely complete different backgrounds, all of them non-Dutch, to tell us how they landed a job here. You see, it's not just a matter of being highly educated, having the right passport. It's about something else. And that something else is what they are going to tell us. What was that in their own story? Storytelling is going to be the way we're going to learn this evening. Each one of them is going to take turns and tell us their story. And I want to make it as active learning as possible. If you move your mouse, you will find in the bottom of your screen a speaking bubble that says chat. And then the chat will appear at the right-hand side of your screen. There, I ask you, please, to write down what you hear. So, for example, one of them says, I was very lucky when this happened. You just listen their story. I make this phone call, or I send this email, whatever it is, what they say, and then you translate it into the qualities, the leadership qualities, the personal qualities, the life skills that they used. Those things that we can learn so that we can apply them in our own growth, in our own career. Of course, now we're talking about landing a job in the Netherlands, but you can apply these skills in other areas of your business life. So I'm absolutely delighted to see how you have been arriving. Vanessa, welcome. Ale, welcome. Really delighted to have you here. So we are going to start now with Victoria. Victoria, I'm going to unmute you, and you have 10 minutes to tell us your story.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Blanca, for having me here. Thank you, Yara. Of course, I'm very excited to share my story with you, how I got to the Netherlands. So I've been here now for 6 years and had a couple of jobs. And so I arrived here 6 years ago from Sweden, though I originally come from Lithuania. So my background is half Lithuanian, half Russian, born in Lithuania, grew up in Lithuania, and graduated from gymnasium and university in Sweden. So after 11 years of living there, for personal reasons, I decided to move to Netherlands. And then, as I guess most of us, I experienced certain insecurity on how to get a job that was good for my future career. So the challenge, of course, was how to get a job in a country where I don't have any network. Back in Sweden, I worked for BCG, and relocation at that moment was not possible. So I thought that I was going to sort of try to penetrate the Dutch market in a different way. So I approached getting a job in the Netherlands like a project. So I basically thought, okay, so what is my timeline? So by when do I want to have a job in Amsterdam? what were my milestones, let's say what kind of stakeholders was I facing, how does the market look like, and of course, I put in my head a clear storyline with what I was going to share with the recruiters. So my step one was basically Google as much as I could on various recruitment agencies that I could find in Amsterdam, and of course, close to Amsterdam as well. And then I just got in contact with many of them by emailing, by calling, and of course sharing again the storyline that I put through. I wanted the recruiters to understand why I want to move to Netherlands. Of course, I worked a lot on my resume and also was very clear in what I was looking for as my next step. After getting through various agencies, I decided to meet them face to face. I always thought that, and I still of course believe that face to face meeting is something that is more personal, and of course gives you a opportunity to meet face to face and really show who you are. So that's what I did. Of course, I lived in Stockholm, so flying to Amsterdam was not a very big of a problem. Of course, if you move from somewhere else, it might be a bit more difficult. So I scheduled, if I recall correctly, 2 days of meetings where I basically just met with various recruiters. We talked about why I'm moving to Netherlands, what have I done before, what is important for me, and of course, Swedish rules and the Dutch rules are very different. So I was also trying to understand, let's say, what are the pension plans and everything else, what comes with that. And of course, 30% ruling, which is very important for many expats. So my first milestone was a recruiter that worked for a very big agency called Michael Page. And she was actually Swedish. So I was really lucky that we had something in common. We both spoke the same language, we had similar background, and we clicked very well when we met in Amsterdam. So that's how my journey started in the Netherlands. We established a very good relationship. I really felt that she wanted to help me because she also once came from Sweden, of course, to Amsterdam. So she knew how it was to be new and to be looking for a job. And so what Bianca said before, I was very lucky, so I'm going to repeat that. So maybe I should not say that, but so I felt really lucky that she was helping me in introducing me to various companies. And one of the companies that I chose to go for was an American company who needed somebody who spoke Swedish, had an accountant's background, had project management skills, was willing to travel to Scandinavia actually on various projects. And so I got the job. So basically the lesson learned from this journey for me was, of course, that it's important to do a research, have a good resume, to work on your resume. Also, but the most important thing is, of course, to build a relationship and expose yourself to new situations and not be afraid just to experiment and get in contact with people that you don't know. The second company that I applied for, where I work for now, I took slightly different approach. So after staying in my previous company for 4 years, I decided that I needed a new challenge. And still working for the same company for 4 years, I still felt that my network was pretty small. Of course, I traveled a lot, but the Dutch network was still not as big as, let's say, I had it in Sweden. So I took a different approach. I had one recruitment agency that helped me to recruit people in my team, in my previous company. And I established a good relationship with that recruitment agency. And I basically contacted that person, and instead of asking to recruit somebody for me, I asked him to help me to find a job. Of course, I thought about it that it might be a little bit tricky. You know, we have a working relationship, and now I ask him to help me to find a job. But actually, it was a very good idea, and he was very happy. And that's, again, important, I think, for all of us to realize that the recruiters are always there to help you find a job, or to, I mean, that's sort of their job, to do that. So my point of contact introduced me with another colleague of his, who introduced me to a CFO where I work now. The company Kauer Brands, where I work for now, so 2 years ago when I applied, we're going through a major transformation projects. Everything from finance, restructuring, to lots of other different things. And at that time I was already doing MBA, and I really enjoyed the change management part of transformations and sort of challenges we face with major changes in the company. So I met with the CFO. Of course, I already knew beforehand that they were going through major transformations, and the recruiter also gave me some inside information that they're looking for transformation teams. And at that point, somewhere inside of me, I knew that I did not have that enough of that experience. And of course, when I went to see him, I was thinking about it, that maybe I should not be going for the job because I don't have any experience. But then I thought, yeah, just have to do it. It's I again tried to think, okay, I need to try it, and if I don't succeed, I don't, but at least I tried. So that's what I did. And of course, my goal with our first interview was to leverage my strengths, so sort of my personality, my drive, and sort of not really focus so much on my weakness, that I didn't have certain knowledge how to do the transformations. And I also noticed very quickly that the CFO was very focused on relationship building and having someone in his team that he can trust, since it's a new project and Kauer has never gone through anything similar before. So our sort of informal interview lasted for more or less 1.5 hours, and I really felt that because we talked openly about our lives and our sort of personal journeys, and how that personal journeys correlate with the changes in our organization. We really had a click, and I was very happy that he invited again me for the second interview. And of course, we also agreed on some trainings that I was going to have once I got the job, which I was also very happy for. And again, that's because I was open, and I said that I really wanted to have this opportunity, but at the same time, I did realize that there were some things that I needed to work on when I had the job. So basically, lessons learned from the second job application are, of course, different than from the first. I again realized that we have to use the recruiters. This is their job, and they're also happy when their client, which is also me, not only the companies, get the right opportunity. Also for the job application itself, I think it's important to think 70-30 rule. What I usually see personally when I hire people in my team is that there is quite a difference between how men and women approach the job applications. Men usually go for that 70-30 rule, thinking that, okay, I tick 70% of the requirements, then I will apply. Where ladies, of course, not always, but in many situations, think, okay, I still miss those 30%, maybe I should not apply for the job. And that's again where, you know, of course, there's a lot of, we can talk about why this is happening. There are various things that influence a decision. But what I learned from my own journey is that you need to try, and if you succeed, then it's because you can actually do it. Another thing what is very important for me was to be myself and to trust in my own powers. And before I start judging myself, I also think that women have more tendency in judging themselves than men. And it's not really necessary because we all can do the job, and we can learn by doing. And that's the third thing that I want to also tell, is that we have to be our own best friends, and we have to believe that we are good in what we're doing, and everything else that we cannot do now, we can still learn tomorrow. So that's all for me.
Thank you. Really terrific. Thank you very much, Victoria. I love your story. Lilian. Lilian is a fellow Latin American. She's a Brazilian who describes herself as architecting ideas into action since 1991. I love your line. She works for Eastman Chemical Company as a procurement analyst. And she took the effort of making a presentation for this evening. So I'm really delighted we are really delighted to have you tonight, Lilian. Please take it away.
Hi ladies, can you hear me okay? Can you see my presentation? Awesome. It was really great to hear you, Victoria, because a lot of what I have to talk about is just complementary to what you said. So that's really, really nice. But I'll sweep away, and thank you for the introduction. Basically, well, hi, first of all. And to be honest, I've thought several times on how could I introduce myself to you. But as Blanca has introduced me, with my personal slogan, which you also see on the screen, it's architecting ideas into action since 1991. And 91 is when I was born. So whatever I do with architecting ideas, it is really like you're born with or you're not. So the reason I created this slogan is really to present in a very unique way who I am and my work style. I basically enjoy creating a structure and executing ideas out of the imaginative world into the real world. And that is really my thing. But okay, that's all about me you need to know about. But today is really about answering the question how to land a job in the Netherlands. And I think that that is really the first step, really to know who you are and how do you pitch yourself? And that is how I started my presentation with you. And employers, they really want to know who are you and what makes you, you, and not just another one of those 500 candidates who applied for it. And to be honest, anyone can be an analyst at company X. Not everybody can be architecting ideas into action, right? So, and on top of all of that, if you say, hi, I'm Lilian, I'm a procurement analyst, well, that's not really interesting or relatable. Most of the people will not be doing the same job as I do. I've even encountered people who said, procurement, what is that? You know, so it's really nice to introduce with something people can relate to, and then from there you can get anywhere. So whatever you do, just trying to be memorable, and hopefully for the good reasons. You don't want to be remembered for the wrong stuff. So to help making my story to you a little bit simpler and at least memorizable, I will tell you how I landed my job with 3 words, which is what you probably can see on the bottom of this screen, maybe a little bit too tiny. It's about show, stand, and strike. So the first one is show. So bring proof of your capabilities. It doesn't matter if you're a student, a home builder, or a world traveler. The Dutch employers, and I'm going to be very specific on this one, are often about the facts. And they would be very interested to know what you do with your time. Most of us probably have a degree or are about to get a degree or will have a degree. But the truth is they're looking for more than just a paper. And I hope that Veronica already mentioned that because she has hired people. That's something I have not done yet. And those moments it is really important for you to show that you have done more than just passing your exams to make a difference. It can be as simple as, I don't know, joining a student association to organize events, being part of a soccer team, or doing volunteer work. The other thing that I've heard sometimes is that employers want to know about gaps of years. So if you have not done anything for a year and there's like a gap in your CV, they might be interested to know what you did there. And the whole thing is just be prepared for stuff that you wouldn't normally. So did you maybe go biking? Did a biking tour between Germany and Spain? Or maybe you were an operational manager for household emergencies, aka the mom. Or perhaps it was a slow year and you decided to upgrade your knowledge with a Coursera course. It can be as simple as that. It's all about the learning story that you're selling. Now, the next thing is, of course, be bold. So stand, just try stuff. Don't ever limit yourself. I mean, in the same way that there isn't a perfect job out there, there is also not a perfect candidate for the job. You don't need to fulfill all the requirements to consider even applying for something. For you to have an idea, I have actually asked my first manager, what did you see in my CV? Why did you invite me for that interview? And she said, well, we got your CV. It didn't match anything of what we were looking for, but we were just curious. And just based on that, I actually got the interview and I got the job in the end. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying go unprepared, don't prepare your CV and things like that. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm really talking about is just give it a go and learn from it. So, and for you to just have a brief idea, I actually just entered into a new job about a month ago, and it's a procurement analyst role, but I don't know anything about SAP, and I have no knowledge whatsoever of what goes on procurement. And the core reason they hired me is because of my knowledge about change management, which is something that the organization needs at this point in time. So again, it's all about the winning story that you're telling. So framing it. Okay, then the next one is strike. Deliver results that work. It's not just about putting the foot on the door, right? Getting through the interview is just the first step, but you also want to get your whole body into the job. And by that, I mean, you want not only to get the job, but you want to maintain the job. My picture over there on the slide, it's not just random. For you to have an idea, I don't know if you noticed, but the Dutch, they have some ingenious things going on around here. The pictures that I have put in there, did you notice that some parts of it is flooded? And in the 1300 and on the right side, it's no longer flooded. You may wonder, what happened in there? Is the sea level? No, it's the Dutch. They actually pumped the water out of Flevoland and they extended their territory. I mean, that is just genius. Why am I mentioning that to you? Well, because you probably should know how to swim by now if you have stayed here longer than a year. No, that's not why I'm telling you that. It's really because it's all about delivering results that work. And of course, every country wants that, but the Dutch, I've seen them work. It's so efficient, effective, and they still have the whole thing with work-life balance. It's just lovely. You don't have to work like overtime until you are dropping that somewhere. No, it's all about really delivering results that work and doing it efficiently. And as long as you do that, you will be delivering what is your value story. So that's how I made it work for me in the Netherlands. It's basically show, stand, and strike. So if you don't remember anything else that I said, at least you have those 3 words to work out with. Basically just be able to prove that you are the tool for the job, don't be afraid to try stuff and deliver on your promises. That is extremely important to close the deal. And if any of that doesn't work, don't worry, give me a call. I'm always up to learn new ways to achieve success, and I can always lend you a hand to find new ways on doing stuff. And that's all I had for today. I hope you had a good time listening to my beautiful voice now.
Magda, you're a terrific presenter. Thank you very much for sharing. I'm delighted to have you. The evening is going so fast that we have reached our third presenter, Magda. Are you ready? Magda is working for Unilever, and she is a financial manager there. And Magda has also a story, and very different from the previous ones. Please take it away, Magda.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, Lilian, your story was, so both stories were really good. But Lilian, I think after this story, I would also be willing to have a chat with you for my own team. So you are, I really think what you're doing works well. Yeah, indeed. So I think my story is quite different. And what I hope you will get from all these very different stories is that in the end you need to be yourself, and as long as you're true to yourself, probably in a way or another things will work. But I also see that there are some commonalities in the stories. So how my story began, I came to the Netherlands. So I'm Romanian originally, and I left Romania about 11 years ago. I did my bachelor in Germany, and then I came here for my master in 2000. That was in 2010, and then I was here for a year. I went to Portugal, and then the time to start looking for a job was approaching. But what happened before? So in Germany, I studied in sort of an American university, so the campus style. So I was very much used to having student jobs. And then when I came to the Netherlands, that was slightly different. At Rotterdam School of Management, it was not exactly the same sort of student job style. So I thought, okay, I still want to do something. So I started applying for internships in order to be able to work during my studies. And I was interested in Unilever, so I saw this internship posting just on the regular job board of RSM. So I applied. That was in 2011, beginning of 2011. And then I had a very nice interview. It was really more of a chit-chat. How Victoria was also saying, so basically during the interview, I just used commonalities to the hiring manager. So the guy is German, and I used to live in Germany. He came from Cologne, so my interview was mainly talking about the carnival in Cologne. So it was really a very nice chat. And then at the end of the interview, he just told me, yeah, okay, if you can't do full time, then I think you should just know from now that this will not go on, because we need an intern that can do full time. Okay, so I basically left, and I thought, fine, I already knew that it was not going to happen. I was also having some other interviews going on at the same time. In the end, I got an internship in a consultancy. It was sort of also on the side job. So during the studies, I was working part-time, and during the holiday full-time. That was very nice. I was quite happy with my internship. And this, I think, was February or so. And then in the summer, the German hiring manager wrote to me saying, okay, now I have again an internship. Did you finish your studies, and are you available full time? And then I was not available full time, because first I did sort of pre-master. And then I was starting my finance master from September. So what I did, I just sent him my schedule, and I said, okay, so you decide if I'm available or not, but I need to attend my courses. And then he said, yeah, no, sorry, you are not available. So fine. I just continued with my consultancy internship. And then I also went to Portugal for some time. And when I came back, I was finishing my thesis. And then I thought, okay, I have no idea what I want to do. I studied finance and I really hated my master's. So I thought I would never work in finance. But let me at least try and do an internship in finance to see what it is about. So I thought, okay, how about just writing to this guy and tell him that now I'm available? So this is what I did. I just, so I sent him an email and I said, okay, do you still remember me? Because now I am available. And then he basically said, yeah, okay, I have an opening, but send me your CV, which I did. And I didn't get any answer in 3 weeks or so. I was still applying for other internships. But I really wanted Unilever, so I was quite interested in the company. I think, the whole, basically the whole purpose idea resonated with me. So I wrote to him and I said, yeah, fine, if you reject me again, it's okay, but just tell me so that I know and I move on. And then he said, oh, no, actually, if you're available, you start on 3rd of September. So I started my internship. And then I realized that I didn't hate finance that much while doing my internship. It was quite different than the finance I studied in my master. And then after my internship, I got an offer and I stayed with the company. And that is, basically almost 6 years ago. So I think from this story, you can realize that it's completely different than the other two stories. It was really a mix of, just not being shy to try again. And at the same time, it was probably also quite a degree of luck in there and of chance. And it was also making the right click, I guess, with the people. But I would also want to just give you a bit of a perspective also in my, so during my track with Unilever, because so far I've been doing 4 jobs until now. Because now it just seems like, I don't know, it just happens and you don't need to put any kind of effort from your side and then it's all fine. Well, it's not only this. So of course you need to, I think it's a combination of circumstances, doing your best, the people that you meet on your way. And for example, when I got the offer to start with a job, I wanted to apply for the traineeship because during the traineeship, you basically, in my mind, it was that you have more development opportunities. And that was not possible because at that point in time, so now it's slightly different, but at that point in time, you had to speak Dutch in order to apply for the traineeship. So that was not possible from the very beginning. So what I did instead, I discussed with the manager and the director from the job, and we sort of agreed together that I'm just gonna shape my own track that will not be different than a traineeship, which meant putting also effort for myself in order to create a network, in order to get the trainings that I want to get within my first job, doing different things, changing projects from time to time, just in order to get as many development chances as possible. And then before I ended with my first job, I really wanted to go to the local business. And that was 2.5 years later. And my Dutch, meanwhile, improved a bit, but I didn't really know how much it improved. And in order to work in the local business, the language is quite important. So I kept on insisting that I was basically in line for a promotion due to my performance and in a way also the network that I created. But I kept on insisting that I want the local business no matter what. And in the end, I got an interview with the director from the local business. And the interview was only in Dutch, so I could answer in English, but all the questions were in Dutch. And now looking back, so that is 3 years ago, looking back, I bluffed my way quite a bit. So Victoria said that men and women approach things differently. Probably I approached it a bit more as a man in this case. I think I understood 60%, but with body language, with with the context and so on, I basically just knew that I wanted the job. So I bluffed my way. And then at the end of the talk, the lady said, yeah, okay, if you understand like this, I don't see a problem, and you're just going to learn on the way. In the beginning, it was quite an adventure and many insecurities, if I'm going to be able to understand everything. In the end, yeah, people were very supportive, and it went out well. And I think, yeah, from this is just, if you really want something, go for it. Sometimes you just figure out things on the way. And also don't be afraid to take challenges, because the situations that make us feel uncomfortable most of the times learn us or teach us the most. So yeah, that's a bit my story. Quite different, I think, than the other two. I hope we're not confusing you too much.
Oh, Magda, thank you so much for your story, and I absolutely love that the stories are so different. I absolutely love when you said no is so inspiring. Thank you, Magda. Now I want to give the floor to Yara. The second part of the evening is questions and answers. So if you have any question, now is your time. So you can use chat to ask questions. We could potentially open the mic if we really need that, but we're so many that it could be chaotic. So please do use the chat. And so now I give you the floor to Yara.
Okay. I'm muted. Now here, yeah. Blanca? Okay. So thank you, Blanca. Thank you for all the super strong women I think we have here as an example. Please write the questions in the chat and I will ask. So if you have concrete questions from someone, so tag with hashtags the name and then the question afterwards. But I have a question for you, Victoria, because you are here. So in the time that people are asking questions. Yeah. So because you told me the story once, how you managed to negotiate your promotion before getting into the job?
My promotion? Which promotion?
Yeah, from the manager to director in the last job, more or less, I remember.
Yes, so just to give some background, so at my current, with my current company, I'm here for 2 years, so I got hired like transition manager. So I basically restructured the whole EME and we implemented shared service center in the Netherlands. And the transitions are almost over for the countries. We still have two to go. But UK is one of our biggest markets. And after the transition, there were quite some hiccups with operational, basically work and stabilization. And they needed somebody who could quickly basically fix the UK markets. And of course, I was one of those few people in the organization that did UK transition and knew the business very well. And I sort of had the gut feeling from the beginning that they wanted me on that position. But of course, I leveraged that because the shared service center director, he wanted me to do both jobs, which of course is not feasible. So just basically I just used the fact that I was also just done with MBA, and I gained lots of different knowledge, and I thought that we both sort of thought that the director position was good for my career. So it was more of a mutual agreement.
But it was a mix of performance and as well negotiation and good relationship with your boss.
Yeah, and also what we also talked about is my career path in the organization. Mm-hmm. So I also think it's very important, and also I would like to give that tip to other ladies, is that when it's very important to know what you want to do in the organization and for how many years you want to stay there. And if you think that you want to stay there for quite some time, it's important to sort of map your career path. Say, what are you going to do within 2 years? What you're going to do there within 3 or 4 years? And of course, the best thing is to get it in writing, but that sometimes it's difficult for your employees to commit to. But at least that you talk about it. So at least that both parties, they know that there is something, further than just this contract. And that's what I also did with my CFO. We talked about this this is just a part of my career path that they see me having in the organization. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very good tip. So now we have the question for everyone. Is about the Power Woman. What was your biggest fear? So we can start for you, and then we can do it because you are close to me.
My biggest fear. I think my biggest fear, what I've seen in my last work with transformations, was not to succeed or not to meet the expectations. I think that I was afraid of many times, that they hired me for the job that I knew that I was not, again, that's my insecurity, where I thought that I was not good enough for. And I was quite sometimes afraid that I would fail. So I think the failure is something that I was afraid of. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I also used that fear to give me power. Sometimes even if I was afraid, let's say if I had a big presentation to the steering committee or to management committee in different countries, I would just get almost mad at myself that I'm so afraid that I have this fear. And that sort of gave me power to really go there and just say, no, actually I can do it. Just to sort of show myself that I can do it.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, that's what I think is a very good tip. What to do when you have fear for something, to say, no, I have to do it because I have fear to do it.
Yeah,
exactly. Like I think it's Eleanor Roosevelt once said, it's a very popular quote, said, do something, it scares you every day.
Yeah. Yeah, and then in the end, you realize after doing it a couple of times that actually it was not that scary. So
it's more about the virtuality of your fear.
Yeah, for me, it's actually exactly the same thing. I even have a name for it. So it's sort of an imposter syndrome, in which you have the feeling that you're overvalued, and that in key moments you're actually going to show that you're not as good as other people think you are, and then in that moment, basically, you're also going to show them, and you're not going to be able to keep up with it. And I know that people also react differently to it. And at least for me, many times it gives me that adrenaline and drive to just go for it and work as much as I can, because that is the moment in which I really need to prove. And what I do to also just calm myself down and so on. I just think that it also worked out in the past. So in the end, I try to make things as small as possible and think, if it worked last time, what's going to be different now? So it should also work now. So I think, and I've also talked to more, especially women from my company. And I was also quite surprised to realize that I'm by far not the only one that has this. That is quite common.
Yeah, I must say it's relatable. I have the same, that I'm like, I enter a room in a meeting, I'm like, I don't know enough about the subject, and the fear goes up like, okay, I don't know enough, or I'm afraid to say something wrong and things like that. And that's also like, I don't know if you were able to see, I put a picture of me hanging from the Euromast. I did abseiling. And the reason I do that, actually, I have a goal every year to do something completely out of my comfort zone, so that I get used to, okay, there's always something that will make you uncomfortable, so get used to it.
It's a good one.
Yeah, it's a very good one. There is a question about, could you also elaborate how you handle salary negotiations, specifically when you have imposter syndrome? So maybe Lilian?
Oh. Oh, that's a tough one. I think there was one of the other talks that said, do as if, fake it till you make it, sort of thing. Like just I think one of the things we all three share in common is just do it. I mean, one thing that helps me sometimes is, what is the worst that could happen? Let's suppose I go to an interview and make a fool of myself. When am I ever going to see these people again? So always put like the pros and cons on the table and see, okay, is it as bad as you think it is?
That's a good point. I remember that during the MBA, we had a class about negotiations, salary negotiations, which I actually used when I got my transition job. I made maybe 20 points of what I wanted, everything from the title to God knows what. And I remember that the CFO, he called me and he told me that he has never seen such a extensive list. So that's true. I also used, let's say, when I asked for the salary, I asked so high that it almost, that I was almost ashamed. And then I thought, okay, I'll go for it.
Yeah, and most of the times they're actually a lot above than what you think it is, right? And honestly, you won't know until you ask. And that is the one advice I once get. Just ask.
Yeah, and I think it's also very important to think about the secondary benefits. I think we all focus a lot about, the base salary, but there are so many other things. It can be vacation days, it can be car, it can be working hours, it can also be study payments, it can be a lot of other things. So that's also important to sort of really give a thought and also really feel that, the value of yourself. I also think that's important. Also, what I see when I hire people, again, I see there is a trend that women tend to ask for less money than men. Let's say during the last year, 1.5 years of the transition, I might have had 100 interviews for various positions. And I hate to admit it, but there is a trend that women do ask less. They sort of think that they are worth less, which I always think that it's not the case, and that there's no reason for it.
What would you say? Sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, it's a follow-up question. What would you say then? Like, because would it be a research problem? Like, that they don't do sufficient research to know what is your real value in the market?
I think it's both. Of course, you can Google on the average salary for a position, but I think it's more of a personal sort of your own, how you value yourself. And I do think that unfortunately ladies tend to undervalue themselves. So not so long time ago, I did hire a team lead, and she asked for less, and then actually I gave her more, just because I thought this is just ridiculous.
So how much she asked for a team leader position?
No.
For instance, because I think the audience wants to know.
No, but it's in finance. It's very different than any other team lead position. But she did ask less, and I gave her more than what she asked, because I thought that, okay, I wanted to hire her because I saw a lot of potential in her, and I thought she will need some good motivation during the years to understand that she is actually worth much more. So.
I see. We had one question for you, and then you answered already.
I also wanted to add to this, because I think what also happens many times is that so we get excited with the jobs because we basically want those jobs, and we sort of think almost as if the company is making us a favor or is giving us a present of giving us that job, but in the end we're going to work for that job. And I think that many times that also holds women back from basically thinking the other way around and thinking, actually, I'm doing a service to the company, that I'm going to work and I'm basically going to do this job.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah, there is a question here for everyone, is how do you deal with rejections? If you had some.
Pack up and move on.
Yeah, basically try to understand why. And then, because I really think this is also in life, huh? So it's not that everyone is going to like you. So it's just part of it. It's just part of a journey. And sometimes, it can get to us. I think it's very difficult for a rejection not to get to you. It's also a rejection gets to you also when someone doesn't want to go on a second date or whatever. So it's just part of human nature. It's basically what you make out of it.
Mm-hmm. True, I agree. What I've also done is that, let's say I ask for feedback. If I didn't get the job, then I get back to either the recruiter or the company, and I ask, let's say, for a reason why they didn't choose me or why they choose someone else. I always think it's important to understand, let's say, was there anything that I could actually have done better, or was it just because my profile didn't fit the company needs, which is fine. I cannot change my personality, right? But if there is something that, let's say, is in my communication style, or is the way I approach them, or is the research that I did that maybe they didn't think it was sufficient about the company, and these things I do want to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think what Vicky says is good in the sense, know what you take on from the feedback as well and what not. Because not everything is always applicable.
No, sure.
So I think it was more related to the rejections. I think one sub-question was about especially in a new country, and the other is if you take it personal. So I don't know if you want to comment in this part of the question about the rejection, because it makes a difference in the country you are. If it is not your own country or it's a new country, makes a difference in the rejection, or it's the same from your perspective?
I don't know if it really makes a difference.
Well, I mean,
also for me, not, I think.
How you deal with the rejection is completely up to you, right? So it wouldn't matter what is happening in the external world. So I'm not sure I understand the question in that sense.
Maybe I can ask the question in the reverse way to the person that asked the question, to Shipra. Why would it make for you a difference if it's in a new country? Because then maybe we can also understand a bit better where it comes from, and we might share from our own experience or so.
I didn't ask the rejection question. Mine was more on the salary negotiations part.
Okay. We sort of related it to the one above. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So I was just wondering if, because most of us, we change the job role itself, the industry and the geography.
So that I can fully understand. Indeed, of course, with the salary negotiation, it can be more difficult in a new country, especially when you don't fully understand the dynamic of the sector. So I think what can work is talk to people, because it might also be that let's say not from the same company, but you might know other people from that live in that country, or if you don't know someone directly, just reach out, through connections, Because many times it seems like salary is a taboo topic. And to a very high extent, I think it is, because it's not like you go, I don't know, you go to work and you put your pay slip on the table. But people mind talking about this way less than you would expect. And also for myself, so for quite some years, I never did any attempt to negotiate my salary. I didn't feel that it was really needed. I sort of felt that I was taken care of. And before starting my current job, I was basically getting a promotion, but the job was at a way higher level in other countries compared to the Netherlands. So basically, I knew that in many other countries it was a director level. So in a way, it felt like, yeah, okay, now it might be the moment to negotiate for it. And what I did, I just talked to a colleague about it, to a colleague from a different function. And she was basically just, she told me, actually also for me, it was so difficult to negotiate before this job, but I just asked my dad, and my dad gave me tips about it.
Okay.
So that's why just don't be ashamed or afraid to talk to people. And you don't need to ask them how much do you earn. You can basically just ask for advice. How do you think I can best deal with this situation?
Or like a ballpark figure. Is that what you mentioned?
Sorry?
Or like a ballpark or an approximate.
Or basically you can, because I think you can also find information on segment averages and so on, and then you can just ask, do you think this is appropriate, or this is right, or is it realistic, or
Okay.
And you can also I think also for example quite a few universities or also forums like this also offer mentorship opportunities. You can also just sort of book a mentorship session if this is really your worry, and then just say, okay, I have difficulties with this, can you just share from your experience?
And would you say it should be specific to which industry I'm targeting, or that should be just generic at whatever position I want to reach at?
So let's say if you don't have context within that precise segment, it anyway helps to just get a general view a bit about how the dynamic of the labor market is in the respective country.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay, we have a question about how do you know if you are ready for a new challenge? Or did you ever feel undervalued, and how do you manage to realistically benchmark yourself? Victoria?
How did you know you were ready for a new challenge? I think when I was mid-MBA, I felt that I think it was just the fact that I didn't feel motivated at work, and then I realized that if I am not motivated and not happy, then I need to change. And did you ever feel undervalued, and how do you manage to realistically benchmark yourself? That's of course a very tricky question. Feel undervalued. I mean, I think when we all work late hours, then we all feel undervalued, no? Or when you have to take a flight at 7 in the morning, then I always feel very pity about myself. But I don't know if it really answers the question. Benchmarking, I always contact the recruiters that I have in my network. And I asked them if they think that it's a reasonable salary package. Of course, I sort of try to talk to people that have similar positions. Of course, for me, I'm doing transformations, and transformations usually are consultancy jobs, which of course different salaries compared to the companies. So you also need to sort of think, does this make sense? Does it make sense in taking the responsibility into account, also traveling, which I didn't do actually in my previous jobs. I didn't take the traveling into consideration, but I do think that we should do that. I mean, traveling long hours and early mornings, I think should also be compensated. How do you benchmark that? I think that's very difficult. It's very personal. But I always try to maximize what I get, because you only have one possibility to do that. And if you don't take that possibility seriously, then you're there with a very big job, long hours, and not well paid. So I think that's something to take into account.
Yeah, for me, when do I know I'm ready for a new challenge? When I start feeling comfortable. So every time I started feeling comfortable in a job, and where I basically had the feeling that the learning curve is plateauing a bit, is flattening up, then I basically start teaching. And so that's just the moment when I think I'm ready for a new challenge. And then if I feel undervalued, I wouldn't necessarily say undervalued, but more insecure, which also comes from myself. And then basically what I do then, I just try to bring transparency and talk to peers, talk to my manager, basically just ask for feedback, and then benchmark myself. In a way or another, I think we almost all do it. We all compare ourselves to others. You basically compare yourself, your job for the same type of level to other people's jobs. And then in terms of salary, it's just more discussing with people in your environment, and then you get a bit of a feel for the same type of experience. If you're in a good position or not. So then I also got a private question. I don't know, Vanessa, if you're fine with me answering it publicly or not. But I think anyway, Lilian can answer the one before. Okay. So Lilian can answer the one before, and then I can come back to the...
No, go ahead. I think you guys covered it all, and I completely agree and relate to it as well. Please go ahead.
And so the question was, why did you decide to go for a local business Dutch related instead of going for a direct promotion that might have been the easier choice? Because that's what I wanted to do. So for me, I didn't necessarily start working with Unilever for crunching numbers. So I really want to be close to the brands, to the consumers, to really understand the business. So I'm basically more towards like a generalist business person than necessarily just finance focused. And I really wanted that. I basically wanted to be close to where the action is in the market. And at least for me, doing what I like, what gives me energy and what keeps me hooked and really passionate about my work is in a way, I take that over an easier promotion, because I also know that if I do things, if I'm passionate about what I'm doing, I will anyway do it better than if I'm not. And then in the end, the promotion is going to come. Don't know if that gives you a good enough answer, Vanessa.
Okay, I think we have no more questions, and we are going now to have more than an hour in a conversation. I think I took some notes, and we can sum up on go for it, just do it. I think one of the points, value yourself, don't give up, fake it until you make it, and ask more until you feel uncomfortable. When you're feeling uncomfortable, that's the right number. So, and always, I think like a mentor woman, so we can say ask other women when you have questions. So thank you very much to all our amazing strong women for all the advice and your stories. And thank you for the audience to come to listen. And I think that's a very good format to follow up. Like if we have a question, then we will have a panel of women mentoring women. So thank you very much. Have an amazing week and go for it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
nice evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.